This is our league, and this is your league. From the 55-yard line on CFL America Radio and the Sports History Network.
Stand by, 15 seconds to air. Stand by all cameras and videotape.
Ready with your opening graphics. Stand by, Howard. Here we come, Frank. Ready, Don.
Stand by audio, your opening music, and roll tape.
Take tape.
Entering 1988, San Francisco 49ers coach Bill Walsh was haunted by the way his team's previous season had ended. In 1987, the 49ers rolled into the playoffs with the best record in football.
That year we were 13 wins, 2 losses. We had everything going for us. We dominated the league in every statistic. We clearly were the best team in the National Football League.
The San Francisco 49ers, owners of the best record in the NFL at 13-2. Tops in both offense and defense. The Niners 11-point favorites today and the pick of most of the experts to win it all again.
In that game, number 79, Harris Barton, was a rookie offensive tackle.
Success was only measured by winning Super Bowls. It was not, we got to the playoffs, we won 8 games. Hey, I was all pro, I went to the Pro Bowl. It was, hey, did you win the Super Bowl? And if you didn't win the Super Bowl, you know what? It was a terrible season. And so we came out against Minnesota, and then Anthony Carter just goes berserk. I mean, I don't even remember who the quarterback was, but every time I looked up at the big screen to see what the replay was, Anthony Carter was making some type of circus catch.
Batted up and caught by Carter. A magnificent catch by Carter. Unbelievable.
227 yards in 10 catches for AC, Anthony Carter.
The playoff loss to the Vikings in '87 was probably the most traumatic experience I've had in sports. Coming off the field, I just was so embarrassed, so humiliated. Our owner was beside himself, very, very angry and hurt. In private conversations, Eddie was so frustrated that he probably stated to other people he'd like to fire me. Well, those of us in football understand these kind of things occur.
It's a tough thing to live down or live through. We just experienced. I mean, there isn't an easy way out. There isn't a way that you can avoid it. It's there and it'll live with us. But we just, in this particular game, for some reason, it struck every man in the room. We did not move. We did not hit. Don't expect kind words from the newspapers. They'll be on this one for months. But who the hell are they?
It was traumatic. It had repercussions throughout our organization for months to come.
What the 49ers were at that point in time was really a team in transition. They were transitioning out of the teams that had won the Super Bowl in 1981 and 1984, and they were bringing in younger players. So, Jerry Rice was replacing a Dwight Clark. I was replacing a Keith Farnhorst. They had brought Steve Young in. Steve Young came in 1987 as well, and they wanted to work him in too as part of this transition.
In the playoff loss to the Vikings, Walsh pulled Joe Montana in the third quarter and replaced him with Steve Young. Young led the 49ers on 2 scoring drives, setting the stage for an epic quarterback controversy in '88.
You think Steve Young is a quarterback of the future?
Yes, he is. He's great. Oh, man, he's something else, and we had to dig down deep in order to keep him contained because he was running us to death.
Is Joe no longer fast enough?
Montana, once football's magic man, now appeared to be an ordinary Joe.
Joe Montana looking slower and slower as the age and the Viking pass rush begin to catch up with him.
Many speculated that the 1988 season would be his last in San Francisco. They said the same of his coach.
I wasn't sure following '87 whether 1988 would be my last season. To be honest, I wanted to finish my career with a Super Bowl victory. There was a lot of stress there. When we take that field, that line field, it's just like Marvin Hagler. That's what it's going to be like. We're going to be unloaded on somebody. They would buy into it. They could understand it when you say beat them to the punch.
In the 49ers weight room, Walsh installed a speed bag.
The speed bag, none of us could really do it real well, and obviously you couldn't do it during meetings because it was loud. Bill liked to have it there because he could always walk into the weight room and amaze guys because he could do the speed bag better than anybody else.
We used to hit it every day. We used to go out and spar. We would just shadow box each other, right? And he always used to catch me with those left hands, man. He was lefty. And so I got one in on you,
Training camp in 1988 would feature a battle of heavyweights. 2-time Super Bowl champion Joe Montana versus challenger Steve Young. In just his second season with the team, Young refused to live in the legend's shadow.
There's a lot of tension with Steve coming to the 49ers. Steve would get really mad. Really wanted to show that he's worthy and he can play.
Everyone wants to play. I want to play desperately, and I'm going to try to drive everyone nuts until they give me a shot. I don't think anyone wants to sit the bench, and that's very much the case for myself.
This is the first time Joe would have to basically compete, have somebody over his shoulder. So there was a lot of tension.
At age 32, Joe Montana knows this is a crucial year. You got a young guy pushing you in town now, Steve Young. How do you handle this?
We have to be as competitive as possible without letting it come between us.
It never got where these guys wouldn't speak or talk to each other. They had to talk to each other. They kept it professional.
If Joe was upset at anybody, it would have been me, not Steve Young. Joe was having problems physically. Because of that, Steve saw some action.
In the season opener in New Orleans, Montana threw 3 touchdown passes as the 49ers built a commanding lead.
Great throw. Montana back to throw. Steps up for the end zone. Touchdown 49ers to Mike Wilson.
But in the third quarter, he left the game with a bruised elbow. Young came in, but was unable to generate any offense. Instead, he gave points to the Saints on a safety. The 49ers held on for a narrow victory, but in the locker room, not everyone was happy.
Steve, are you satisfied with this kind of role? Do you expect this all year, like a relief pitcher? You kind of get into the bullpen?
I'm satisfied to play for the 49ers, and we'll take it from there. Obviously, I've talked about wanting to play. I mean, if you want to talk to someone who wants to play, come talk to me, but just handle it. You just handle it.
The following week in New York, Walsh gave Young his first start as a 49er.
Well, Joe wasn't able to play. I didn't plan to play him at all. And so I just had to go with Steve.
I don't think Joe was hurt at the time. I think, Bill was trying to work Steve in. It was early in the season. His probably excuse was he wanted to keep Joe fresh, but he wanted to see what Steve could do on the national stage. And so a lot of us were questioning, why is Steve in here?
In trouble. Running out to his left. Going to be caught. Fumbles the ball again. The 49ers have really self-destructed in this first quarter.
Young fumbled on San Francisco's first 3 possessions.
Steve struggled, and so reluctantly I went with Joe in the second half.
49ers trail it 17-13. 58 seconds on the clock. They have to go 77 yards.
With the game on the line, Walsh called for a 76 all-go, a play he installed in practice earlier that week specifically for the Giants.
So the all-go, and just concentrate on this part of it or this part of it. They will rotate past and leave this open, or stay inside and leave this open. So we've got a hell of a chance with it. 76 all-go.
As an all-go, basically what the play is hey, you just tell all your receivers it's the Hail Mary. You know, hey, I'm going to drop back. I'm going to throw it as far as I can. I was the right tackle at the time.
Montana to throw.
I'm blocking, and he spins inside. Basically, he's got a clean shot at the quarterback. And sure enough, Joe at the time just threw up just a prayer to Jerry Rice.
Throws long for Rice down the sideline. He's gone to 30. Touchdown, 49ers. A 77-yard touchdown pass to Jerry Rice.
The silence was one of the things I'll never forget.
Boy, and it is stunned silence here.
The crowd was just going berserk before that play. That was one of the greatest plays that I'd ever seen, and I was part of it.
In week 3, Montana was decidedly unheroic.
First down, throws, it's going to be intercepted.
He threw 3 interceptions as the 49ers were upset by the lowly Falcons.
Montana's been intercepted 3 times today.
In week 6 against the Broncos, the 4-1 49ers were blown totally off course.
A fierce wind came up in the second half, and I mean fierce. Had to be 40-mile-an-hour gales. Impossible.
We couldn't even throw a pass. I can remember just trash and dust flying everywhere.
There were times we'd walk the line of scrimmage and you could barely stand up. Goes into overtime. Joe gets hurt.
We're tied at 13 in overtime. The winds continue to swirl.
Steve comes in and he throws a interception.
It's intercepted. It bounced off of Rice's hands to Steve Wilson. The ball held up, I believe, by the wind.
The wind probably hurt Steve throwing that ball, but nobody ever remembers that.
Here is the kick. It is up. The kick is good. The Broncos win it 16-13.
For Bill, to see a team that had all this talent and had all this history that he had built, winning one week, on a miracle, and losing the next week on a fluke, and it just wasn't the 49ers that he was used to.
The Niners record drops to 4-2.
His teams, they were precise, they executed, and we were doing anything but that at that point in time in the season.
We've got to have everybody 100% fresh for this ball game. Somehow you've got to be fresh. In some cases it may mean a lot of sex, in others none. I don't know.
I really enjoy the humor.
And Danny White, he knows he's not going to play, so he's the guy mouthing off. We're going to kick your ass.
If you can get everyone to laugh together, you can get everyone to get serious together.
We've set a high standard for this ball club, the highest in football, maybe the highest football is seen, and we're not going to deteriorate regardless of who's in the game, because the guy next to you suffers if you don't give it everything you've got.
The thing that you never wanted to do as a player with the 49ers is you never want to let the other guys down.
You cannot let down because you're obligated to the men sitting next to you tonight. You can't let down.
One of the first speeches Bill gave every year was, anybody who carries a football for the San Francisco 49ers was an extension of everybody else in this room. So Roger Craig, you carry the football, you're an extension of Harris Barton, who's blocking for you. You're an extension of Joe Montana, who hands the ball off to you. You're an extension of Michael Carter, who's playing defense. You're an extension of the fans of San Francisco. You're an extension of the guy who's cleaning your uniform. We give you that type of respect when we hand you the football.
We were an extension to each other, and we believed in that. My responsibility for play action faking and things like that was just as big as Jerry Rice or John Taylor catching touchdown balls. It was such a team thing.
It's not our athletic ability that's going to go out and knock the jocks off these guys. It's how we play as a team. I know they all want to win badly, they want to beat us, but damn it, they can't do it because we play better as a unit than they do.
We know we're the best team. Let's just go out and prove it.
To build team unity, Bill Walsh created the annual 49er Fishing Derby.
Our facility in the training camp had a pond. It was pretty large. Going by it one day on my bike, I thought, wait a minute, if there were fish in there, we could have a fishing derby.
So what going to stock this thing with fish tomorrow. And Friday we're going to have a barbecue. Everybody will have a pole. I don't want any pole fights, anything like that.
We filled that thing with catfish, and everybody got a rod. We had teams, the defensive backs versus the offensive line. We had individual prizes. We had a catfish feed that night. So it turned out to be quite a tradition.
They stocking it with trout, right?
Catfish.
Walsh's stocking of the pond with catfish was a source of unintentional humor to the team. For catfish was the nickname of starting running back Roger Craig.
If you hook Roger, you don't get the $100.
Freddie Solomon named me Catfish. When I run through the holes, my eyes expand. It's not that I'm afraid to get hit or anything. I like to see where I'm going. So I just swim through the holes.
Craig's nickname became a punchline for the former boxer, Coach Walsh.
He had this artist draw a picture of me looking like a catfish with bug eyes, with 33 on, swimming through the hole. The team just crack up laughing, So this is a way of loosening us up for a big game, and he was known for that.
Craig's superhero-like strength changed the perception of the 49ers as a finesse team. So did his high-knee running style.
I was a high hurdler in high school and in college, and my coach in high school used to tell me, get your knees up. We used to run through those tires, You got to get your knees up or else you'll fall on your face. In one game in high school, I knocked out like three guys in the same game. Lifting your knees up it was kind of like a weapon for me because people didn't shy away from tackling me. I used it to my advantage.
In 1988, Craig had his greatest season as a pro.
A discouraging run for the defense by Roger Craig.
He rushed for a career-high 1,502 yards and led the team with 76 catches. His versatility was a perfect fit for Walsh's complex schemes.
Coach Walsh, he utilized me better than any coach ever utilized me.
We want to get Roger the ball. We're going to flood one side and get Roger out. And the whole idea here now,
whenever he wanted me to do something, I was going to make sure I was going to be there for him.
We know that this guy will have to cover Roger, which is scary for them.
He would always give some type of positive reinforcement.
Because Roger's had some great days catching the ball.
At the Rams in Week 7, Craig played the game of his life.
He goes to the end zone! Touchdown 49ers! He is the best back in the league right now.
He rushed for 190 yards, scored 3 touchdowns.
Walks into the end zone! Touchdown!
And ripped off one of the greatest runs in NFL history.
It's a draw up the middle to Craig, and he breaks loose and runs loose. He gets used to the 30 to the 25. He's down to the 20. Breaks loose again. He's to the 10. 5. Touchdown 49ers. Oh, what a bonanza. Spectacular run by Roger Craig.
I remember watching it that night on the newscast, thinking to myself, was I in the same game as this guy? This is something like, I don't know, this is a Hall of Fame clip here. Did pull the team together. It did exemplify, that 88 season, looking back on it.
That run against the Rams exemplified what I was all about as a player. Endurance, the strength, the power, the speed, to do all that in one run.
He was busting people. He knocked a couple people down, knocked a couple of his own players out of the way. Might be the best run of his career.
When I see that run, I still get goosebumps.
That's highlight reel material forever.
Like most offensive linemen, Harris Barton was not a household name when he entered the NFL.
I was drafted by the 49ers in 1987, and I'll never forget, I'm watching on ESPN in a restaurant in University of North Carolina, and the commissioner of the league gets on and announces my name.
49ers first choice, Harris Burton, offensive tackle, North Carolina.
Harris Burton. And I'm like, well, that's a good way to start. I got drafted, and the next afternoon I was flying on a plane right out to San Francisco. Never been to San Francisco before. Got off the plane, and an hour later I'm standing in the huddle with some of the best football players in the world. To my right is Joe Montana, and to my left is Jerry Rice and Roger Craig and Tom Rathman, and that happened in a 24-hour period. You know, I realized that, hey, I'm not in North Carolina, I'm with the World Championship 49ers. I was born and raised in a Jewish family in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, I went way beyond my physical abilities. I had to use a lot of mental strength, and I was never a player that, you know, I'm a nice guy, and I had to spend the entire week really psyching myself up to go out there and do battle.
He was a nervous body, though. He's a worrier, you know. During the game, he would always say, "Is my technique okay?" You know, he's prancing around in the locker room, working on his technique, his blocking techniques.
We had to sort of protect Harris because he would worry. He'd worry about things. And the other players knew it, so they'd find reason to get him to worry.
I say, "Harris, you better be ready this week. You know, you're going against Lawrence Taylor, you know, so it just make him that much more nervous."
Barton had reason to worry in Week 8 when the 49ers traveled to Chicago to face the NFL's #1 defense.
Well, Monday night game, it was in Chicago. That game, Joe just got abused. West Coast offense coming into Chicago. We score a measly 7 points. The Bears had to be thinking that, hey, we own these guys. We were losing. The end of the game, Bill pulls Joe and puts Steve in. And Steve missed on a 4th and inches play.
Young back to throw. Throws out here to Craig, and he's not going to get the first down.
When Bill pulled Joe, that was a red flag that went up the flagpole.
We were still struggling with Joe's health at that time.
He's got a great heart and tremendous courage. And so if you were asked, Joe will say he's 100% fit and ready. He's been taking a lot of hits. He needs a rest, to be honest with you. He needs a week off.
In Week 9, Steve Young started in place of Joe Montana. Early on, he disappointed those looking to avenge the playoff loss to the Vikings in '87.
He was on some plays and he was off some plays. This is not the same Steve Young that just went into the Hall of Fame. You know, this is a Steve Young that is kind of raw out there. I mean, he's almost like a rookie. He's never been in this system. He's left-handed. He's got new receivers. He frankly didn't play very well that year. You know, and he'll tell you that too.
He did struggle at times. He had this great athletic ability that saved him.
Late in the 4th quarter, the 49ers trailed the Vikings by 4.
Young, back to throw. In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again, to the 35, cuts back at the 30, to the 20, the 50, the 10. He dives, touchdown 49ers. You won't see many better runs in your life than that.
The run that Steve has at the end of the game that wins the game, this one really showed the greatness that Steve Young was going to be. One of the greatest runs I've ever seen a quarterback have. I mean, very similar to Roger Craig's run. I mean, a run that you thought he was tackled several times, but he just kept going and kept going and kept going. Kind of like the old Energizer Bunny. Steve was always known for his dramatics. You know, he could have run in. He didn't have to stumble across the line. He just kind of tripped on like the 5-yard line, on just the white line. That's what he tripped on. It was a strange experience for Steve because they were running him out of town in 1988. He was literally getting booed during that game. People were going from booing Steve to just thinking he was the second coming.
In a game that was as slow as pond water in the first half, quarterback Steve Young finally found the play that would do it. The one when he had to keep it himself and struggle in to win it.
I don't know, I think watching Roger running against the Rams, I decided maybe I'll start trying to break back on it and stuff, you know. But I don't think that's going to be in our offense very much in the future.
That was one heck of a run.
Don't mind him taking away some of your thunder today, huh?
I'll tell you, it helps out.
Steve is a frustrating guy because we can't seem to get in sync. But on the other hand, he makes a big play like this that wins the game. A tremendous athletic effort.
I think this last week might have been a good breakthrough for Steve. It's very likely that Steve will start again. I just don't believe that Joe will be 100% ready this next week.
Young would start again the next week at the Cardinals and guided the 49ers to a 23-0 lead.
Chase now throws for the end zone. Touchdown to Brent Jones.
I remember leaving the field at halftime thinking, this is as good as we've ever looked. This was beautiful. I was so proud.
But in the fourth quarter, the former boxer would be floored by a haymaker.
I was facing one way, and two players running full speed going for a ball hit me from behind.
One of the coaches got knocked down on the sideline, it appears.
They just hit me flat on my back, and they cracked two ribs, I found out later. I mean, people didn't think I was going to get up. It was really, and maybe I shouldn't have. I could hardly stand up.
Hey, Bill, way to get a little contact down there.
For the next few games, I was strapped up and kept on going. I don't think many people knew of it. I didn't give it a second thought, other than it hurt like hell.
What happened next would hurt even worse.
6 seconds, 10-yard line, 6-point differential.
He throws for the end zone, and it is caught for a touchdown by Green.
Well, now, Bill Welch will forget all about the embarrassment of being knocked on his butt. He is an angry coach.
It was a shocker. We lost in the last 4 or 5 seconds.
All this boxing rhetoric. Bill was literally knocked out and had to be assisted onto the team plane because he was lightheaded.
We'll look back on this and just pull our hair out because there's absolutely no reason for this to happen.
It was probably the worst loss that Steve Young had. He always would say afterwards, in private, that if we win that game, he's a starting quarterback. And he's probably right.
In Week 11, Joe Montana was called on to salvage the season.
He'd been sick all week with a stomach virus. He is in a weakened state because he lost 8 pounds during the week.
He really shouldn't have been out there. But after losing to Arizona, he was willed by the fans and the community and the media and by me to get out there and give it a shot. And it was not a great game for Joe. We just couldn't generate anything.
And the 49er passing game, which has sputtered all season, is just out of sync so far here today.
That was a game that Bill really wanted to win. Al Davis was the guy who got Bill in the business, and to go out and be shut down by them, not score a touchdown, was just unbelievably deflating for Bill and the entire offense. We stunk it up. That was probably the low point, and I'm not putting words in Bill's mouth, probably the low point for Bill's career. I mean, this is his team and his organization being just torn apart by an organization that is exactly the opposite of his.
49ers, high-powered offense held to only 3 points.
Where Bill would teach discipline and execution, the Raiders were always looked at as, hey, they sit on their helmets and they smoke cigarettes in the locker room and they're going to have late hits, they're going to have stupid penalties. Well, that team just dismantled, the team that Bill had built.
For the first time since '85, the 49ers will lose back-to-back games.
We had those 2 losses staring at us, and there was a lot of stress there.
Kiss their playoff hopes goodbye.
It was a brutal loss. If you had told me then in that locker room that we were going to win the Super Bowl, I would have bet everything I had and said that there's no way that's going to happen. remember walking into the 49er facility, and guys are saying to themselves, hey, what are you going to do in the offseason? You know, because there's no way we could make the playoffs. We're in a pretty tough division. We're 6-5 at the time. There's a bunch of teams ahead of us. Guys are almost packing up, you know.
Ronnie Lott called a team meeting, and the coaches weren't allowed to come into our room.
And Ronnie stands up and gives one of the most impassioned speeches, really, that I've ever heard. It's really the screw the coaches meeting. Hey, we know more than they do. We're better than this. Let's see what we can do. It was really kind of an unforgettable moment. It really changed my sports career because you always hear about these player-only meetings and does it ever work? You know, I'll tell you, it usually never works, but this one did. Guys came out of that meeting united and cheering for each other and pulling for each other.
You got my back, I got yours type of attitude, and stick together and be brothers. And we could have easily went to a tank. You know, guys could have easily start pointing fingers. We said, we don't want any fingers pointing. You know, we're in this thing together.
Back to the 5-yard line, taken by Taylor. Comes to the near side. Now tries to go back the other side. Is pulled down, gets away, goes to the 10, stumbles the 15, jumps over man at the 20. He's on it.
Against the defending world champion Redskins, John Taylor's 95-yard punt return broke the game open and changed the course of the 49ers season. Joe Montana also came to life in a 37-21 victory.
Looks gonna run.
Everything was in sync following the Redskins' victory. Offensively, Joe Montana had now recovered completely. So we had Joe back.
The 49ers won 4 of their final 5 games to finish the season 10-6.
Touchdown 49ers. What a play by Montana. Steps up, throws, has Taylor wide open. 45, 40, in front, 30. Touchdown 49ers.
They clinched the NFC West title and headed into a much-anticipated playoff rematch with the Vikings.
I think everybody was looking to play the Vikings. That would have give us a chance to redeem ourselves somewhat from that loss the previous year.
Joe Montana threw 3 touchdown passes in the first half to Jerry Rice.
Touchdown Rice.
49ers take a 21-3 lead.
We put them away right now, man. Keep working. Keep working. Don't let up. Don't let up to nobody. This doesn't mean a thing. Just mean we have to score a lot more. Keep it going. Don't mean nothing.
The 49ers scorched the Vikings for 34 points.
Now first through 30 to the 40. Being chased.
The last 7 coming on a classic catfish fry. Relieved by exercising the demons of '87, the players hoisted Bill Walsh on their shoulders. Even more surprising was the first speaker in the post-game locker room.
Joe Montana very seldom gave motivational talks after the game, and he gave a talk. That room was so quiet, you can hear a pin drop. That's how quiet it was. When he talks, it's like E.F. Hutton. You listen.
The teams that have beaten another team by a big margin have come back the next week and played terrible. And that is not going to happen to this ball club. We've opened the door. We're going to go through it next week, and we're going to kick ass and take no prisoners the week after.
In the NFC Championship, the 49ers would face the Bears, who the previous week defeated the Eagles in the legendary Fog Bowl.
We couldn't get much out of the tapes preparing for the Bears because you couldn't see the Bears.
Probably the most effective thing that'll happen today is the team next week can't look at film on them.
The Bears had proclaimed themselves that year the team of destiny. They probably felt, well, if we can get through this, we can get through anything.
Yes, we are ready. It's not cold enough out here.
The weather is going to be a factor here today with a -25 chill factor.
It was 26 below wind chill, and it was the coldest any of us had ever experienced.
It was the coldest game I ever played in my life. I went out there in a short sleeve shirt. I went out on the field, couldn't even feel the ball.
It's so cold that the mist in the air off of a player's breath was so thick that you couldn't see. It's freezing. Nobody wants to admit how cold it is.
Like, wow, how am I going to play this game today? How am I going to get through this game today? You know, I was all worried. We got to jump on them fast. Got to beat them to the punch, as Bill Walsh would say, beat them to the punch. And we jumped on them early.
11 minutes into the game, the 49ers landed the first blow.
He gets away at the 40. It's a foot race. They won't touch him. It's touchdown 49ers.
The 61-yard jab staggered the Bears.
The minute Jerry Rice caught the touchdown pass, we were in business.
And silenced the hecklers in the crowd.
There was a man behind me with a megaphone chanting and talking to me about my body parts and my preferences in life and everything else. And whenever it was quiet, the whole stadium could hear it, and they'd laugh and they'd roar, and everything was fine. But by the time we got to third quarter, he couldn't talk, because I knew we had him. They just didn't have the complete offensive package that you had to have to be a team of destiny.
Montana back to throw. Looking, throwing, touchdown 49ers.
Because of the elements, because of the apparent strength of the opposition, that may have been the best 49er victory.
And Rathman drives for the end zone. Touchdown 49ers.
Miami, here we go. Yeah, baby, yeah. Number 1.
There are just a few games where you get into the locker room afterwards and it's almost a frenzy of excitement and you're just euphoric. It was incredible. That was truly a great victory. And as I recall my career, that one stands out as much as any.
Whoever would have thought it,
on the coldest day in January, the finesse-ass 49ers will come in the backyard of the Bears and kick ass.
I remember looking at Kevin Fagan, and he looks at me and goes, "We're going to the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. We're going to play in the Super Bowl." And when that's a moment in sports that you really never forget. You know, I'd never been in a Super Bowl. The tunnel vision kind of goes away, and for a minute, man, you just celebrate how great it is amongst all these guys that had been in the trenches with you all year long. You were 6-5, you were yelling and screaming at each other in huddles, and here you are 2 weeks away from going to the Super Bowl. That's a great feeling.
In the locker room, Bill Walsh was preparing for the big game the way he always did.
I took a little nap. If you want to demonstrate to the players you're totally at ease and totally relaxed and ready to go.
We collectively are the best team in football as we sit here. We are the best right now. Our opposition knows it. We know it. So when we take the field, we take it with great pride in ourselves that we've come this far, and now we take advantage of it.
I walked out on the field prior to the game by myself and walked around the stadium and became a little emotional all by myself, thinking this could be it. This could be my last game. I do take some pride in the fact that I didn't talk to the team about retiring. I didn't try to tug on their sentiments, winning one for the Gipper or something. The players win the game for each other, not for a coach or an owner.
Walsh's adversary in Super Bowl XXIII would be his longtime friend, Sam White.
I'm so nervous I just wet myself, and don't forget.
Weiss had been an assistant on Walsh's original 49ers staff and helped groom a young quarterback named Joe Montana. He knew number 16 was on.
Joe is hot, so let's cover him. He's throwing good warm-ups. I guess that means something.
In a wild Super Bowl, Montana tied the game at 13 early in the fourth quarter.
That's right at the touchdown, 49ers. That's another great throw by Montana.
3:38 is the time remaining, so it'll be about a 40-yard attempt.
The Bengals regained the lead on a Jim Breach field goal.
Long enough, and it is good. And with 3:20 left to go, the Bengals take a 16-13 lead.
Walsh would have to go the distance for the win. The 49ers' last drive started on their own 8-yard line.
We go running out on the field, and sure enough, they call a television timeout. And so we're all standing out in the huddle, and I was always an intense guy. I'm like, man, we have fought through it. We were 6-5. Man, we should be beating this team. Man, we're behind by 3. We need to score a touchdown. This is crap. What are we doing? It was the tensest time that you could ever have as a football player. You know, this is a Super Bowl, and you're down. And Joe looks at me, and he goes, hey, H. And I go, what? And he goes, hey, check it out. And I go, what? And he goes, look down there in the other end zone. And I go, okay. He goes, you see him? I go, no. He goes, there's John Candy down there in the end zone. And sure enough, the whole huddle turns around and looks down there. There's John Candy eating popcorn at the other end of the stadium. And I'm like, yeah, that is John Candy. Look at that. And then the official blows a whistle, and the play starts.
The 49ers have a long way to go. Montana back to throw on first down. Throws over the middle. Completes it to Craig. Craig is to the 16.
That was Joe Montana at his best.
Montana again is back to throw. A little dunk over the middle, caught by John Frank, and that'll be a first down.
Montana with a first down. 2 receivers near side. Joe back to throw. Steps up. Throws. Out here for Rice. He has it. And midfield goes out of bounds. 2 wide receivers near side. Montana to throw. Completes it up the middle to Craig.
At one point, Joe looked at me and gave me a timeout signal, and I waved him off. I didn't want to take a timeout there. And he did it again. I waved him off. I had no idea he was hyperventilating.
Montana trying to drive him the length of the field here with the game in the balance. 16-13, the Bengals lead. Montana back to throw. Throws over the middle. A fight gets for right into the 20. He's down to the 19 for a first down.
We were all extensions of each other.
Everyone had different roles they had to play.
52 seconds remaining.
And that whole drive, we were just an extension to each other.
He completed to Craig. He's down to the 10. 49ers will have to take a timeout.
With 39 seconds remaining, Walsh called 20 halfback curl X up. It was the last play he would call as coach of the 49ers.
At the 10-yard line, 39 seconds remaining. Back to throw. Montana stepped up, throws.
Time the touchdown was scored, in the midst of all that, I knew that would have been my last game. It was very emotional, and it was the wear and tear had began to show.
Sam Weich comes across the field to look for Bill Walsh.
Also, I had a great affection for Sam Weich, because he and I had been like brothers.
I love you. I love you. Congratulations. I am happy for you like I've never been, believe me. Congratulations. This is yours. You deserve it.
I trusted him and had my arm around him, and he, in a sense, protected me, because I was starting to wind down from that point on, and he helped me off the field, really.
Oh, man. That was a good game, huh?
Everybody sold out this week. Everybody. Damn, it's great, isn't it?
And Ronnie said, man, doesn't it feel great? It felt like heaven, you know, after, you know, what we went through that whole year.
I feel like I'm in heaven right now. You know, it's my second Super Bowl title. I tell you, we worked so hard. We deserve it. We overcame all the adversities throughout the year, and we just pulled together.
Christy Brinkley in the locker room came in and took a picture with me. And I don't have anything on but these shorts, man, like my underwear, so it was kind of strange. Eric Wright dumped Gatorade on Eddie DeBarlo. It takes a lot of guts to do that.
It was interesting. After that game, I saw the men celebrating with Eddie DeBarlo and everyone, and almost felt like an outsider, almost in a matter of seconds. An outsider who just won the Super Bowl. I think it was time for me to leave.
This is a tough moment in a way, because was this the final game on the sideline for a great coach, Bill Walsh?
That was when I stepped away.
Emotional moment right now with the coach down here inside the locker room.
Thank God my son was there with me, and we sort of embraced and got through it. Meanwhile, everybody else was celebrating a few feet away.
Bill, he shocked me, man. When he retired, that killed me inside. I mean, a part of me died. I was hurt by it. I was gonna miss a great coach, but a friend as well. We got to be really good friends, almost like father-son figure.
You're my #1 in the world, Bill.
I miss Roger. I miss all the guys. We'd care for each other. And that's one of the reasons we had the success we had. We were totally bonded as a group of men.
This is my first ring. This is the ring that we won for winning that Super Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals. Players like Ronnie Lott and Joe Montana, who have 4 of these, always say that the first one is the most important, the one that means the most to them, and that's true. This ring sits in my safe deposit box. I'm scared to death to take it out. The money goes, the fame goes, but they can never take this away from you. And it's something that still gives me goosebumps.
Bill retired that day, but one thing that he left a message with us, even in life today, you know, you're only an extension to each other. When you have that kind of attitude and that belief, you're gonna do wonderful things. When you're selfish, nothing like that happens.
1988 established the 49ers as a dynasty. It came the hard way. We salvaged a struggling season to make it a championship season. Super Bowl XXIII means an awful lot to me.